Head coach Darren Rizzi, interim head coach Darren Rizzi, is 2 games in to his 8-game interim season. I think it's time for a quarterly progress report. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints.
I'm pissed off. The fans should be pissed off. The people in New Orleans, the people of Louisiana, no one should be happy. And I think this city deserves a winner. They know what winning football looks like. And, it's our job to bring that back. And my message is this. Here's what I can't promise a lot. I can promise passion. I can promise fight. And I can tell you that team's going to go out there every Sunday. And that's going to be clear that we're going to have a team that's full of passion and a team that's full of fighters. That I can promise you. Now, the football's got to get better.
So, has he delivered on his passion and fight promise? Yeah, I think we can agree. 2 games in, both games, was a lot of passion, a lot of fight in that team. You don't win those 2 games without him because refresher, Atlanta came down basically to the last minute of the game, and we had been losing those games not only this year, but on a regular basis for the last few years. And Cleveland was a tied game going in the last 15 minutes of play. And we just kept fighting, stopped them cold, buried them on offense, ran up those 3 scores, walked out of there with on paper seems like an easy win. But for 3 quarters, it was a very hard fought game. If you don't bring the passion in the fight, you don't win either one. And I think that's where if you want to see a change in culture, and I played the clip because he let it off with I'm pissed off. The fans are pissed. Everybody's pissed off, and they should be because the play of football wasn't good, wasn't winning football. I don't. It's hard to say after 2 games. We're doing a progress report, not a report card right now. It's hard to say that the culture has changed, but you've seen a shift in 2 weeks. You saw it shift horribly over a 7-game losing streak. You've won 2 in a row, and you're seeing a shift coming back. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out, but I think it's very important that everybody understands that clip I just showed, that we're going to take being pissed off and we're going to move it to where we can have passion and fight and win games. Because I think everybody from the head coach to the coordinators to the assistant coaches, all the way down to the team leaders, throughout all the players. I mean, you're getting down into the training staff, the support staff, hell, probably even the janitorial staff. They all have to have buy-in. So you need an organizational wide buy-in. And during that last stretch, and I argue possibly there may not have been as much buy-in as we thought, even the first 2 games this season. Maybe not as much in the offseason. This could go back a year or two under DA. That not only did you not have buy-in, but you kind of had anywhere along that chain, including the former head coach himself. Instead of buy-in, it's just tuning out. I don't know collectively if it was happening. I think to a certain degree it was, but I'm not in the locker room. And I don't even know if it's intentional. But it's just one of those situations. The things start going bad, and it's not about, hey, how we're going to fight through this. It's more of the, shit, here we go again attitude. And start tuning out a little bit. I don't think Rizzi's going to let anybody tune out. I don't think it's in his nature. I think in majority of the players and the coaching staff, it's not in their nature to do it. They will fight, but if you have coaches, especially your head coach, tuning out, it's going to ripple through the organization in one way, shape, or form. And even if it's only touching a couple coaches here and a couple players there, it's enough to start the losing disease, to quote a great movie from the 80s, The Natural. Even though it's about baseball, losing is a disease. And it is. And it will spread, and it will start destroying parts of your culture like passion and like fight. So it almost comes hand in hand. You got to have the passion in the fight to win, but you need to keep winning to keep the passion and fight. I think Rizzi understands that totally. Um, I think it was Northern put in the chat the other night that he's an alpha. Absolutely. And I hadn't thought of that till he threw it in there. And I'm thinking, is Dennis Allen really an alpha? I mean, since he said that, kind of going back and thinking, going, I'm not so sure. So I think at least for a 2-game stretch, we can put in the progress, satisfactory progression. Like you said, 2 games out of an 8 season is a quarter. So it's a first quarter. It's moving in the right direction. Right direction. It's progressing. It's the stuff we want to see, we need to see, we have to see. Let's see where the built-in or the buy-in, I should say, and building in this passion and fight, regardless of the outcome. Even if we finish 2-6, God forbid, but if it happens, I don't want to see that go away. I want to keep seeing the bite in that's leading to the passion and the fight. I want to see it starting from the top because that's where it has to start. And instead of losing disease spreading through the whole organization, I want to see that leader up there with his passionate fight and seeing that spread through the organization, no matter the outcome, no matter what's going on in the game. Just keep seeing it for 4 quarters, like we have seen for the last 8 quarters. Let me go back. I'm not going to replay the whole press conference from when he took the job the day that DA was let go. Showed you the one clip. Could probably show you many more. I don't think it's necessary. I think we all kind of know what he said because I think if you listen to him talk at all, whether it's the regular practice press conferences during the week or his post game or his radio show, whenever, I think he's saying kind of the same things over and over. Sometimes he may change the wording a little bit. I think one of the other points that from the jump, from that first couple of press conferences when he was introduced and then the second one when he took over, he's made it clear he's trying to affect changes to fix problems playing the team. And he's not afraid to try something, which is great because look, when you have a coach up on the podium week after week after week, too many penalties, too many missed tackles, too many this, not enough of that, yada, 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 and not seeing anything change on the field, you have to sit and wonder, well, are they doing anything different or is it just, more of the hey? And we have heard DA say this over and over again, keep doing what you're doing. We're going to keep doing what we do. That's what we do. We're going to keep doing it. It's not working, man. And I think that was where just a lot of the anger, I know where mine came from. Now I'm looking at his replacement who from the jump is going, look, communication issues. Man, we had the locker rearranged from 4 years ago during COVID. Yeah, that may fix. Let's try to get position groups together. See what happens there. See if our linemen can communicate better on blocking schemes. See if our defensive backs communicate back there and stop giving up 80-yard touchdown passes. Still waiting for that one to come through. But he trying to affect some change instead of just, hey, keep doing what we're doing. And look, it may not be directly leading to a win. It may not even be indirectly leading to a win. It could be indirectly leading to wins because you are cleaning up some little problems like communications or whatever by doing some of this stuff that he's proposed. Yeah. Changing the practice schedule around a little bit, changing the pre-practice routine. Missing a few here, but you get the general idea that if you watch these, every so often you get the, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. Tying it back to the first thing, I think if you want the buy-in, you want the passion and the fight, you have to give players a reason to. Because if you're just going to keep doing what you do, we're going to keep doing what we do. over and over again, how can you expect a different result? And how does that not freshen a player or even other coaches' minds when, again, something happens in a game and collectively there's this sigh of, I know it's the fans are doing it for damn sure, that collective sigh of, shit, here we go again. We keep seeing this over and over, and it's leading to direct result. But when you have a problem, and it's nice when you instantly identify a problem and you know exactly what the solution is. It's not the most common thing to happen in life, and it's probably even rare when you're talking about playing sports, especially at a professional level. So you got to figure it out. You got to have a guy in there willing to figure it out. And if it's fight you want, you have to fight to find the solution sometimes to fix issues. So if you want to have passion and fight to win a football game, I'm kind of thinking the guy in charge has to have that same passion and fight throughout the week in every way, shape, or form of preparation. You want the team to take on the personality of your head coach. You hear that, or your manager, if you're talking about another sport. You hear that all the time. Well, hey, if we've got to make some changes and just knuckle down and get into a serious brawl to fix things, to fight through the problems and find the solutions. You have to have a head coach willing to go, hey, let's get our hands dirty. Let's fight. Let's make it happen. Following the logical progression now, we were just kind of talking about decision making. And if you want to be a bad leader, if you want to nail it down and say, there's one thing you can look at a leader and go, man, he's a terrible leader. It's a leader that doesn't make any decisions. Because like we just talked about, he's making changes. He's making, deciding on this, deciding on that. It may work. It may not work. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, at least try. Because if you're not going to do anything, you'll never solve the problems. If you're not going to do anything, you're never going to stop a losing streak. If you're not going to do anything, you're never going to get the culture back where you need it. You can't be stuck in neutral, much less reverse, and expect to go forward, right? Darren Rizzi, you get the impression from him even before the season started. If you've ever seen any of the interviews with him, um, any of his comments to the media, especially when asked about aspects of the special teams, you saw his passion to talk about it. Talk about a guy not afraid to make changes. The NFL is on the verge of, hey, we're just for years talking about canceling kickoff and kickoff returns. Now, there's a guy that came up, well, if we got to get radical about it so the league doesn't legislate it out, let's come up with a plan. I still don't know the dynamic kickoff return that he was a huge part of bringing to the league is worth it. And if it's working, if it's dynamic or whatever, but I know he made a decision and he worked hard to find a solution to keep, in effect, his job. He was a special teams coordinator. A large part of his job still in the game of professional football. For good or bad, he made a decision. Just that little thing. I was stopping and thinking about it, going, that's the kind of guy you need when there's problems. Hey, they're going to eliminate a large part of the special teams job if we don't figure out something. He was able to do it. He could have just sat back and said, it is what it is. I'm not going to make a decision. I'm not going to try to help find the solution. I don't think he's that type of guy. I don't think he's ever been that type of guy. I think it's shown in spades. So probably a guy you need at least for 2 games to find that cultural shift. He's got it in there because he's bringing this. It's almost like a can-do attitude. I don't want to hear about the other stuff. I don't want to hear about what we can't do. Let's go ahead and figure out what we can do. And I think that very much carries through through the coaching staff, down through the team leaders, down through the players. Find a way. If game plan A ain't working, let's go ahead and move to game plan B. What are you seeing out there with your coaching staff? What are the guys telling you when they're coming back to the bench? Do we have to make decisions on the fly? I feel like at times it was almost like the original coaching staff, the old coaching staff, wasn't allowed to do it at all times. I kind of feel like you're seeing some of that now, based on like if you think about for years watching the camera find DA on the sideline the last few years, especially when and typically when something's kind of going wrong is when a camera gets turned on the sideline and let's go look at the player whose fault it is or how the coach or his head coach is reacting. So when the camera would find DA in those situations, I swear I just always had the thought of deer caught in the headlights, frozen. He didn't know which way to go. He didn't know what to do. Gets run over by a car. It felt like that was happening an awful lot in the last year or so, season and a half. Even if it's just only 2 games, and again, not a report card, but a progress report. Camera finds Darren Rizzi on the sideline. It's videos that have come out from him on the sideline. He's bringing passion and fight throughout the whole game with his coaching style. And he's not afraid to make decisions. He walked in, made a decision. We're going to make a decision. Joe Woods is going to be, calling the plays, defensive coordinator. We're going to make a decision. We're going to bump up. And I didn't even know this till recently. Nearly a 2-decade assistant, Bryant Young, to the D-line coach. We're going to move TG out of it, Todd Grantham out of that D-line coach, and kind of as an assistant defensive coordinator, slightly elevated position, but they're letting BY get in there and do the dirty, and it seems to be paying off. Just that little, I'm going to make a decision, right or wrong. I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to reshuffle what's going on up front. We need to bring our pass rush back. This guy's worked here 20 years. Rizzi's been here a long time too. I'm sure he's fully aware of what's going on along that defensive line and bringing in the fresher, I don't know, fresh pair of eyes, fresher. I don't know what's happening, but we've seen a marked improvement over the last 2 weeks that we had not seen anything from our defensive line, from our pass rush. Again, I don't know if this is a long-term solution, if it was just the 2-week adrenaline bump because changes are being made and we were so desperate in the need for change. But the big thing is, if nothing else, you did it and you got that adrenaline bump for 2 weeks. You started winning games. You at least had a cultural shift. The more I see what they've done in 2 weeks in the decision-making process and empowering coaches, it seems to me the offense looks different. The defense playing better is looking different. It needed to be different because if it didn't look different, if it was the same old, we'd be on a 9-game losing streak right now. So as progress reports go, so far I'm going, it's all in the positive direction. Thinking about this is like almost school related. If you talk about a first quarter progress report, well, Rizzi's got to coach 2 more games. And he's at the halfway point. He's at the midterm. And I think you could probably pull in enough information at that point to give him an actual grade. And I think it's kind of like the Sunday versus the Rams is the real first test. And then shortly thereafter, you're going to Green Bay and playing a Monday night game. It looks like still right now. That's 2 tough tests. I think we're going to see if the progress is for real, for lack of a better word. Can we keep progression? Can we keep getting better, even if it's in these small areas? Because I think, and I don't think these are small areas. I think they're quite large issues. But even if nothing, if the individual play doesn't necessarily get better, but if collectively, if this leads to that fight and that passion and to clean up some of the stuff they can clean up, we've been on this all season, and for right now, it's still got to keep going. Got to eliminate the big plays. Got to figure out ways to make more big plays yourself. Got to the missed tackles, the stupid penalties, the boneheaded not thinking plays that lead to a turnover, whatever. Have to eliminate. The thing, if you can, and in all fairness, it seems all those issues, even though they're still kind of there, they're not as glaring. They're not as many as they were during that 7-game losing streak. So if nothing else, if you're dropping penalties from 9 a game down to 5 in the first 2, let's see if we can get that 5 down to 3, 4. Let's see if we can keep whittling down. Missed tackles are no longer in double digits, and we're finally getting them down to where they're not killing us on every single play that the other team has the ball. Let's keep getting them down further. We're only giving up 2 explosive plays a game, and they score 14, and we're able to win 35-14. Let's see if we can get that down to 1 and then to 0. That sort of thing. At the very least, if we keep seeing that. But it's going to get harder with the next 2 teams we play. So, report card, not quite ready to do. But I'd like for 2 weeks, I think you can take the position I'm taking. Give me a thumbs up if you do. Take the position I'm taking that for the longest time, especially over that last 3-week stretch before the firing, it was about ready to go off a cliff wrong direction. At least we got the momentum stopped, turned it around. Uncle Mo's with us a little bit, right? Let's see if we can keep pushing that forward. I want 2 weeks from now, we'll revisit these very subjects and whatever else has happened in those 2 games and come up with a report card. But for right now, I can give a progress report, and I think the progress report is all trending upwards so far. So, one thing I did want to show y'all real quick. This pulled it off the internet somewhere. I saw a link Twitter talking about this. So I'm not quite sure when this came out, but I'm assuming at some point this week. But this is the current betting odds of who the next head coach for the Saints will be. If you notice, Joe Brady's plus 300 has the best odds, and Darren Rizzi plus 400, Ben Johnson plus 500, Monken plus 700, Glenn plus 800. These are all names that from the jump, when DA was fired and Rizzi was named head coach, all made the initial betting odds page. The thing about this information is, and it's not really information, but the guys that set the betting lines just don't do it out of thin air. Now they're going to get some information. They're going to get some data, crunch it in some algorithm. It's going to spit out some numbers, and they're going to set the lines accordingly. So it's nothing more than kind of a barometer, which way the wind's blowing type thing. But in what Rizzi's done in 2 games, let me go back to this is the day I first saw it when it came out. So it was either the day DA was fired or the very next day. But Joe Brady was plus 300. Ben Johnson was plus 400. Monken plus 600. So they've slid down a little bit. Aaron Glenn plus 700. He slid down a little bit. Wes Phillips has kind of jumped onto the list out of nowhere. He wasn't there 2 weeks ago. Vrabel slid back a little bit from plus 900 to plus 1,000. Rizzi was at plus 1,000. He's the one that's made the big jump up. And I think part of that is outside of Vrabel and Slowick and those guys, they haven't moved a whole lot. And to be honest with you, once you get past Bobby Slowick, I don't know if I'm really too interested in any name left on that list. Definitely not the 3 on the bottom. Rizzi's made the biggest jump. And I think the biggest thing is if you're going to look from Brady to Vrabel right now, and that's basically what the top of the list were for the most part 2 weeks ago, Rizzi has made the biggest jump. Vrabel and Rizzi, Vrabel's the only one with previous head coaching experience. At some point, we'll probably explore this list a little further as the season starts winding down to an end. But Rizzi didn't have head coaching experience, but he's got 2 games now, and he's got 6 more to go. So I think what he's done in 2 games is impressing the guys enough that set these betting lines to make you kind of want to think he's great. He's gaining traction in the forecasting department, I guess you should say. You could say. So there's that. So there's the progress report. I'm giving him positive check marks on everything so far. We're going to see how it plays out. Like I just mentioned, the next 2 games are going to determine a whole lot as to what we're seeing is real, or if we start backsliding, and what's the outcome of either situation. Probably about 2 weeks from now. I think about every 2 weeks, progress / grading report is definitely on the menu. As far as the rest of this week, you won't be seeing anything before Thursday, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone, but you will be seeing something Friday. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, break down, and do a preview of the Saints versus the Rams. I think it is as critical game as we've played all year for different reasons than some of the other critical games we were supposed to play and we got beat. This one's more about the short-term future, about what our end of our season is going to look like, and can we keep some very vague playoff hopes alive. But more importantly, depending on what happens, it could be setting the tone for the future in 2025 and beyond. So keep your eye out for that. We will be live on Sunday post-game, hopefully with some along these same veins that we've been talking about the last couple of really about a week or so, about keeping things in the positive direction, keeping that cultural shift going back to the winning side and off the losing side. We should have a lot to say about that on the live post-game show come Sunday night. So till I see you then, peace out and hoot at.